Wait, Hold Up What? A podcast from the women behind Eliminate Girl Hate. Stories are the foundation of progress, and for too long, the voices of women and marginalized communities have been ignored or silenced. At Wait, Hold Up What? We're reclaiming space to share the struggles, triumphs, fears, and joy that shapes our lives. Join us as we explore the intersections of identity, equity, and empowerment, offering education, support, and a little inspiration along the way. Whether it's breaking barriers, celebrating wins, or tackling the tough stuff, this is a space for everyone to feel seen, heard, and uplifted. We invite you all to join the conversation and help us explore ways to eliminate girl hate together. Can a bra help change the trajectory of a girl's life? Did you know that nationally, only 20% of girls engage in at least 60 minutes of daily physical activity, a lower rate than boys? Or that girls' participation in sports drops off significantly from the ages of 10 to 17? Wait, hold up, what? Yeah. Some of the barriers that contribute to this include lack of financial means, lack of role models, dropping body confidence, and concerns about body changes, including breast development and the need for a sports bra. The simple intervention of a sports bra, along with the normalization of body development, can change the trajectory of a girl's relationship with body movement for her whole life. You heard that right, her whole life. Every girl deserves to feel comfortable and confident in her own body. And that's why Bras for Girls partners with more than 25 athletic brands and donors just like you to distribute new, high-quality sports bras and breast development booklets to girls in need, ranging from the age of 8 to 18. Let's get girls in well-fitting sports bras right when they need them the most. Girls plus sports equals a beautiful world. You can donate to Bras for Girls today at brasforgirls.org. And as a side note, Eliminate Girl Hate has partnered with brasforgirls.org and will be donating a proceed of all merchandise sales to helping girls get in the bras that they need and keep them in sports. You can help by shopping the Eliminate Girl Hate store today. How many times have you heard the words workplace and culture used together and found yourself rolling your eyes at the thought? Believe me, I'm with you. I'll be honest, as I record this, I just rolled my eyes. That's because the word culture has become homogenized in such a way that they actually had us believing ping pong tables and pizza were symbolic of a good place to work. COVID changed that. Remote work was a success in the eyes of many, and as such, our ideas of what constitutes a good workplace culture have changed, and it boils down to one crucial element: equity. Now, don't you roll your eyes again on me. It's true. The expectation of employees is that they have a work environment and culture that works for them, regardless of who they are. No more cookie cutter swag and Pizza Hut deliveries, mandatory after hours, happy hours, and all of the other things they do to make us feel like we're a family. This is especially true for women. Remote work gave many more hours in the day, the flexibility to feel more productive and present, and a choice in how and what style of work is best for who they are and what they do. This is at the core of what equity means, because the old way was made for one group of people. And this is where Eliminate Girl Hate comes in. We help create safe and equitable spaces for girls and women, and we help the companies that employ them be more profitable in the process. Not rolling your eyes anymore, are you? Check us out at eliminategirlhate.com. Use code WAITHOLDUPWHAT in your contact form for a free consultation call and see how we can help you and your business. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wait, Hold Up, What? This season seems to be a season in which we just invite people back because we like them so much. So please welcome back to the show, Allyson Spungin. Hi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me back.
I'm so excited. So one of the reasons that we decided to have you back is we had this whole conversation on taking up space. And in the course of it, you and I kind of derailed into hormones and women and all of these exciting things. And yes, there's a lot being talked about in that space right now, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't also be talking about it because it is relevant to women and even girls, which sounds a little weird, but it's all kind of interconnected. And, I had said recently on something how much I love that we're in this space right now as women where we're seeing young women come out and talk about the things they care about. But also there's older women that are talking about things that we weren't ever allowed to talk about before. And so it gives women this roadmap to what's about to happen that previously women didn't have. And I really love this right now because it makes me feel like, oh, I'm getting prepared. Like it's not as scary as I thought it would be, right?
Right.
I just turned 49 and this is the time. Like the hormones are kicking. And there's all these things on Instagram where it's like, is it premenopause is what I wanted to say. Premenopause, perimenopause, menopause, or is it just the destruction of civilization?
Right.
Kind of what life feels like right now, right?
Sure. Is it menopause or is the world just on fire? You know?
Exactly. And kind of both, right? It's like both can be true. Both
Sure.
likely are true. So I don't want this to just be about menopause, just because that's my life and I'm living in it. So what I think I would like to start off with is, why does it matter for women to think about their health specifically as women? And when I say health, it can be nutrition, it can be training, it can be all those things. But why should we genderize that?
Sure. Well, biologically, I mean, like even our brains don't function the same way as men, right? And the girlies are coming, the research on the girlies, it's out, it's coming out. We're talking about it. We're comfortable talking about it. It is just, being in this industry on my 11th year now, night and day from what's available and what's out there. And so much of the research done, especially in my field, is on men. It's male. It's a lot of male participants.
Mhm.
So much research and so much of what we think works is not taking into account the biological differences,
Yeah.
right? Which something as simple as like people who, for instance, a lot of times I'll hear, especially women in their 40s, because that's when it really starts to go down, right? We get the hormonal hand from hell, just hell, right? And so my husband and I are going to do this journey together, AKA I'm going to follow what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then weeks go by. What he's doing is working so well for him. What we are doing, right? Why is it not where he's looking at me like, well, did you do the thing that like I'm doing? Because it's working for me, right? Why isn't it working for me? Because you are not a small man.
I love it.
You're a completely different makeup.
Yeah.
Little things, like little tweaks. For instance, having a little bit of food before you train makes a world of difference for a woman. But fasted training works really well for men.
Mm-hmm.
They get lean when they fast, right?
Yeah.
Are not the same. It's different. So he's shredded and you're fluffier and tired.
Yeah.
And what am I doing wrong? And then it becomes it's a me thing. Then there's a shame spiral. Like, and then it's just kind of like, what do I do? And then there's this hopelessness.
Yes. So I want to, some people are going to think what I'm about to do is cheesy, but I just want to take a deep breath with that for a second. Right? Because I feel like so many women would identify with this idea of like, I'm trying all of these things, I'm doing all of these things that's not working, but I'm doing what they're telling me to do. So the first thing is, you're right. Right now is when we're starting to see research for women for the first time. Historically, medical trials were not allowed to be done for the most part. There's always exceptions, right? But on any woman that was in an age of reproduction. So basically, you're talking 13 to 55-ish. And the reason for that is because there was never the ability to have a baseline. Our hormones, people think about our hormone shifts through the 28-day cycle of a menstrual period. But the truth of the matter is women's hormones fluctuate through a 24-hour day. and they're up and down, right? And so because they couldn't get a baseline, they were not doing medical testing on girls and women,
Right.
which is
Too many variables.
yes,
Ages
yes.
girls.
And severely limited the access to information that we have about our own bodies.
Right.
And then you would get women at varying ages, typically starting around 35, going into the doctor with all of these complaints and being referred to as whiny women,
Right.
right? Or troublesome women. And from my perspective, that started way young for me. I have dealt with some chronic illness issues, and I have always faced doctors who said, "We think you're imagining it." Even though my illnesses manifested physically, you could see them. You could not ignore them when looking at me. But it really gets intensified as women age because they just didn't understand these symptoms. And so I guess like that is one part of it. And we don't need to get too deep into the research. You're not a medical doctor, right?
No.
And so I don't want to put you on the line with that. But how do you then, a client comes to you, they tell you what their goals are. So first question would be, do you feel like even the goals are what they're really like? I don't know how to say this PC wise. A lot of women are going to come to you and say they want to be smaller. That's
Right.
not what you do. So when someone comes in and tells you what their goals are, is there other work that's happening to say, wait, is that really your goal? Or like, how do you work with them in these environments?
For sure. Especially so if we're talking about, the theme is post-menopause. So that age group, right?
Yeah.
They are doing what they did before the hormonal shift and it's not working anymore. So there's this expectation I should be able to do this thing to be what I was back then, but you are not the same.
Yeah.
Things are different. So I need to explain how things have changed.
Okay.
Right. And that's where we talk about things like blood work. And, I do have a hormone specialist certification. I do feel comfortable looking at blood work and giving feedback. I never recommend supplementation unless I say, make sure you ask your doctor first.
Of course.
Right. Things like that. But then we have to do a deeper dive and see what's going on there. And then from a training and nutrition perspective, now we're talking like having the boomers unlearn.
Yeah.
It takes about 6 months.
Yeah.
When I say what you really need is to do less of this moderate intensity, less running all the time, less cycling, less hours of tennis. And I'm saying I need you to go to the gym and train hard. I need you to distance train really hard. So that's a whole different mindset shift right there.
Yeah.
And we do like, okay, I'd like to see where you're eating before I start to give you any sort of information. I have to see where the person's at. Then they're sending me, it looks like, meals throughout the day that is about half of what they probably need calorically in terms of the importance of protein and fiber for this age group as well.
Okay, so hold on. This is all going to be such good stuff. So I want to back up.
Sure.
So the woman comes into you, says, hey, here's what I'm doing. This what it used to work for me. It's not working anymore for me.
Right.
And you say, well, that's because your body is different. What is different?
So stereotypically what tends to happen is we're having a drop in estrogen, a drop in progesterone. And when those things start to drop, our body composition changes where we start to store fat much more efficiently, especially in the midsection. So you'll have almost without a doubt, every person in their 40s who has been extremely active and all of a sudden it's like, what's happening to my body? They always go, I want to lose right here. Right
now, I can't see your stomach because of the level that we're at, but I'm going to ask this question. So you hear a lot of conversation about apron belly, which I actually don't know what that means, but there is the lower part of your stomach, right? That kind of sits above your pelvic area. There's your middle stomach, and then there's kind of that upper torso underneath your breastbone, if you will. Are all three of those different? Do they show up differently for women? Is one more age centered than the other, one more food centered?
So we're looking at something called visceral fat.
Okay.
Specifically, and that's going to be the fat that's like around your organs. And that's the thing where someone's like, I want to lose this, and they're trying to be smaller. I point out, hey, let's get a scan and see what your visceral fat looks like, because that's the fat around your organs, and that can contribute to cardiovascular disease and fatty liver and things like that. So I try to shift the focus, right? So when we talk about, when you said women come to me, they want to be smaller, and you're like, I know that's not what you do. That's not the focal point. So we try to establish goals based off of what's going on from the shift that don't necessarily have to do with scale weight, and looking at things maybe changing so it can be set us up for better health long
And
term.
do you find that like maybe they come in because they're like, hey, this is some weight I never had before. But as you dig in with them, you're also coming up with symptoms that they're having where they don't feel the same anymore.
Right.
That maybe they're ignoring or they don't think are related. Does that happen a lot?
That happens quite often. And they're very similar symptoms. Usually it's like, I'm not sleeping as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more, easily agitated. That has to do with your progesterone.
Yeah.
And it's like such a like relief. I feel like for some people, they're like, well, now I don't feel insane. Like there's something wrong with just me. And then understanding it from just like a science level is so important, because then we're not like, that's why all these diets are shoved at us, and right. And it's like, oh, you've done all the things, try this, try that. And that's an industry trying to make money off of what we don't know.
Mm-hmm. So what is the first question you ask when a woman comes to you?
Like anybody in general?
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody, well, usually people fill out a consultation form, so I kind of know where they're at already. But what I like to do is learn about them. Come, like, tell me about you. Like, what's your experience with with fitness? What's your experience with nutrition? And then usually some things start to come out about like if they had good ones or bad ones, right? And that's important for me to know. So just getting a strong baseline of where they are at. Then we dive into, where do you want to be?
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like sometimes, I have learned this. So I have had I fluctuate in weight all my life, but was always relatively thin until, let's say, the last decade, and on the grand scheme of things. But I remember the first time that I, let's say, went on a diet officially and lost some weight. I would have been about 27 or 28. And when I lost the weight, I got pretty thin, but the weight on the scale seemed so much higher than what I thought my weight should have been based on who I was before, if that makes sense. I'd been on a lot of steroids, and so I gained all of this weight due to the steroids.
Yeah.
And so, prior to that, I had never been over 112 pounds, which is so small. Now I'm 5, maybe 5'4.5", right? And I was in my early 20s. I think that's very important to say. When I lost this weight, I want to say I got down to like 125 or 130. And I saw a picture of me and said, there's no way I could get down to 112. That would look sick. And I saw it, even though prior to that, I was like, why can't I get down to that? And then now at 49, even though I know I need to do some things to get healthier, and that would involve losing weight, the doctors have said that.
Sure.
I don't think 125 is realistic at 49 years old for me and my body makeup. So there's also this element of getting realistic about what healthy looks like at that age, that time, and that body that you have, right?
When we go into those goals and those things like where I want to be, and I'll say, okay, say it's a scale weight example. They give them like, well, where did you get that from? Oh, when I was in high school.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, honey, you've had multiple kids maybe since then. You've had X amount of, different traumatic events in life. You've had this, you've had that, like you have this new hormonal profile that you don't quite know how to optimize yet. And we're thinking about high school,
and the natural spreading of your hips that happens in your 20s, right? Like there's all sorts of things.
So many things shift and so many things change. And, scale weight is affected by so many other things besides nutrition and fitness, right?
Yes.
Scale weight is affected by stress.
Yes.
Sleep. Travel, water retention, sodium, how big the meal was the night before you're weighing in the next day.
Yeah.
How's your poop, your digestion? I just named like 8 things outside of the program, right?
Yeah.
So scale weight and body fat are so different. I actually gave this example to a client this morning, and she was like, I'm upset that I haven't seen more changes. And she was referring to just the scale. Okay. And she weighed herself on a Sunday morning, and the family had gone out the night before and had a meal out, which I encourage my clients to do. That's normal, right? But it was a bigger meal. It had more sodium, things like that. So she weighed in the next day. Then she said she weighed today. She was like, there was a 2-pound difference. And I gave her the example. If you're trying to, quote, diet, right? And you can eat a tiny McDonald's hamburger and you can drink a gallon of water, what would you choose to do? You'd probably drink the water. If you're on a diet, why would you choose a McDonald's hamburger over water? But I will tell you, if you drink a whole gallon of water and you can eat that tiny hamburger, the next day, the scale is going to be higher, right? The scale weight is going to be a larger number from drinking the water because it weighs more. It's like, oh, so there's this obsession with worth in the scale, right? But that doesn't even indicate what's going on body fat percentage wise if you're trying to change the way your body looks, right? So it's like unlearning the obsession with the scale is a whole other thing. And when you're going through major hormonal shifts, you really have to detach from that because that can fluctuate so much depending on what's going on.
Well, in a lot of these programs, even the quote unquote healthier ones, okay, they differ on the concept of the scale, right? So some of them will tell you, throw the scale out. You don't want to look at it. It'll stress you out. Others say, step on that scale every single day because it will keep you focused, motivated, or like on it, right? So I've gone both directions. And even last year, right, where I stepped on a scale every single day. And I was in a process of losing. I lost a considerable amount of weight. I was using some medication, not semaglutide, but I was using some medication to assist with that. And it was interesting because in the beginning, when it's half pound, it's 1 pound. Sometimes you can be like, wow, I wish it was faster. And that can be frustrating. Sometimes it can be promising. It just depended, right?
Right.
But I actually didn't notice anything until I had lost 20 pounds. And even though the scale said it, the only reason I noticed it was my watch. It circled around my wrist and I had to take links out. That was the first time I noticed I had lost weight. And I thought, well, if I had just not endured the scale for all those months and the good, bad, or indifferent emotions I had with it and just waited to try on a pair of pants or my watch, I might have felt better during that. But the research is split.
Right. And this is where nuance is important, right? And it's so person specific. I know some people who just look at it and they put it in their spreadsheets, they're tracking everything, their measurements, there's that. And that's what it is. It's just data.
Yeah.
I have had some people throw their scale out. I have gone on FaceTime and been like, okay, go to your bathroom. Let's do this. Pick that shit up.
Yeah.
Put it in the fucking trash.
Yeah.
I've had to do that with some people, right? Some people are once a week people. It all depends. And that's part of getting to learn about somebody on a holistic level and not treating folks like robots.
So I love this. And part of the reason I like it is because it is rare to see somebody in this line of work that sees the nuance. And I relate to that because of the type of work that I do.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of people out in the world that are like, I'm a coach or I'm a whatever, right? All these words that they use. And I've really struggled with it in the work that I do because those words get such a bad rep from people that cookie cutter things. And they say, join our program and this program will change your life. And I've had people come to me and be like, you need to be a coach. It's like, here's the deal. I cannot sell you 3 sessions of my service. That's not going to do anything for you. I need to know who you are to coach you.
Right.
because there are nuances in how people's personalities work, how they learn, what they truly want to get out of that. And
Yeah.
I think so many people in this line of work, in your line of work, they look to something and say, okay, how many sessions can I get to change my life? And look, I get it. We have limited funds and it's hard to invest in some of these things.
Right.
But that is why they don't work, is because they are solutions that were made off of averages
Mhm.
instead of people. And what works for one person does not work for another person. And just for a plug, that's why equity is so important. I'm just going to put it out there.
Sure.
It's not about the things that the detractors make it about, right? And the same in this world of health and fitness. One size doesn't fit all. There are unique considerations and there are unique ways in which we learn and respond.
100%. We do things still the old fashioned way in fitness. We can't be instant gratification because that shit does not work.
Sustainably, especially.
Correct. So I'm never selling drastic.
Yeah.
I'm selling sustainable. I want people, even if they don't work with me for 10 years, like some of my folks still are on the roster, right? Even if they don't, I want to help them get to a place, sustain that, and then tell everybody the best thing about it was I can live here comfortably. I can live in my body and I don't have to be, it wasn't this drastic, crazy, for before COVID, I did not offer 1 month options to work with me. Because 1 month is not enough time.
Yeah.
I'm still learning your poop schedule after a month. You know what I mean? I'm still understanding what, not sleeping does to maybe the scale or what I'm still learning, how your cycle affects your performance in the gym. I'm still, I only get one cycle for a woman, especially, right? In that 1 month. And some, I know mine are not consistently as terrible as the other, right? So it's like I only get 4 weeks to learn as much about you. And then it's like, okay, I'm done. Thank you. But then when COVID came around, I had folks paying me with like their unemployment. You know what I mean? And it was like, okay, if monthly is better because the world might end next week, that's fine. So I've let it trickle back in. And some people it works better for their budget. But before we started recording, I told you I just got 8 new clients this weekend and 4 of them are 6 months people. And because they are like, I have this long-term goal. I understand because the diets and everything didn't work for me. All this research is coming out now where I understand it's going to take time. And I'm like,
yes.
I'm like, they're getting it. They're getting it, and they signed on for 6 months. And that's a sufficient amount of time for us to really dive in and start to progress.
Well, and it's, I equate it to therapy, right? So many people go in and they knock therapy or they knock this search to get mentally well, right?
Yeah.
And there's some people who mock the pills and they mock the meds. And it's like, if a med works, let a med work, right? For God's sakes. Now, does it work in a vacuum? No, it does not. I will say that till the cows come home.
Absolutely.
You cannot take whatever that little shiny blue pill is and all your problems are going to be solved. You actually have to do the work to heal. And the same is for our body. You have to do the work to heal what we have put onto our body. And look, you could work with someone like you for 6 months and what I get from you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't necessarily have a goal of having a 10-year client. You have a goal of having a client and giving them the tools to succeed in their daily life and sustain the healthiest life they can for as long as possible. And for some people, that will take 6 months. They've got the tools and they can do it on their own. For some people, they don't feel confident in that. They want to stay with you for the whole ride and they have the ability to do that. But there is no, hey, in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you're going to be healed and I'm going to give you all the tools to heal your body and go forth. Godspeed, right? That doesn't work.
That does not work. That's why you'll never see me like doing my 8-week challenge. Doing my
I hate those.
God, me too. So it's so frustrating to see all that stuff. I know my industry is full of bullshit and it's so oversaturated, right? But all I can be is the change. All I can be is the change, Dawn. That's what I'm trying to do out here. That's all I can be, like I could sit and wallow about how terrible some of these other approaches are, right? But what did I read the other day? It was like focusing on doing one good thing and that energy is way better, even if it's just one thing, than 10,000 hours of dread.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to be the change for these folks. And I preach it, and, it doesn't really get through to everybody, but that's okay. I was thinking recently about doing a 12-week program, a group coaching program, as more of an affordable option for people, and have like a weekly module and that type of thing. And I was in the process of marketing for it, and, I was calling it the Baddie Body Revolution. I was all excited. Then I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to do that.
Mm.
And I totally shifted gears, because I can't niche down. I want the ability to help all kinds of people. That's how being a trainer, right? Where I started, I want to be able, I have so much education, so much experience. I want to be able to help everybody, and then hire out when needed.
Yeah.
And refer out when needed, right? So I don't want to just target women. I don't want to target just, peri or post-menopausal. I want to target male coaches who don't understand how to train these folks.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Partners of these folks,
Yeah.
like people in the queer community that feel vulnerable about taking up space in the gym. Like, I want to be able to help, all of these people. So I even nixed, like, definitely not doing the challenges, but even like group coaching. And I feel like the vulnerable populations that I attract deserve the best that I can give, which is one-on-one. So that's what I'm sticking to.
It's interesting though, because I'm just curious, because there's also an element of community that helps. And so look, I get it. The 12-week challenges and all those kinds of things, I think they put the focus on the wrong thing. That's how I see it. And by the way, I've done so many 12-week challenges and 30-day challenges. I did the 30-day Bikrams and all those things.
Sure.
But I always did them not because a group had it, whether or not I think I can do something and I want to push myself is a very big motivator for me. So
Sure.
like I'm known for this thing called the Year of I've Never. So many, many years ago, I was living in California and I hated it. And I couldn't figure out why, like, I'm living in this place that people dream of and vacation. Why am I not enjoying it? And I realized that it was like I wasn't actually getting out there. And so I was watching a lot of Disney commercials. When you live in Southern California, they're on the TV all the time.
Sure.
And Disney has a theme for every year, right? So it's the year of 1,000 dreams or whatever they call them. And I was like, well, Disney can have a theme. I'm going to make a theme for my life, right? And so I've had a theme ever since. Every year I have a theme. It's not in January. It typically happens around my birthday, so that I can really kind of get a sense of that full age year, right?
Right.
And at one point, I had the Year of I've Never, and it was me and a friend, and we sat down with a piece of paper and we wrote all the things, because a lot of people will think this is a bucket list. I want to clarify, this is not a bucket list. I do not in any way, shape, or form want to plan to die. That is not the way I want to live my life. I want to live my life. So instead, it was the Year of I've Never, because it was all the things I'd never done, because I let fear get in the way, but I'd always wished I could do. And some of them were big, right? Whitewater rafting, hot air ballooning, like there were things. And some were small. At the time, I mean, they're so ridiculous. At the time, I was really curious what it would be like to do a beer bong. I'm just going to be honest. I didn't go to college like regular kids. I was like, I wonder what that would be like. I had never been on a date where someone picked me up and dropped me off at my door. And I thought that might be nice. I wanted to run in Central Park. I was not a runner, so I have no idea where the word run came from. I think it was more that I just wanted to be in Central Park, but I put run. And so we had this whole list. I still have it. And there were only 3 rules. You got to take pictures. If you don't want to do something, you don't have to. But if the reason you don't want to do it is fear, you got to push past it.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I don't have a desire to bungee jump. Yes, I'm afraid of heights, but that's not why. I just don't get it. Like, it doesn't appeal to me. But riding a roller coaster did. Hot air ballooning did. So I could tackle the fear, but in a way that my rule was, if my friends go do something and when they come back, I'm going to be jealous that I didn't go, I got to push myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third rule was you had to write about it. Not publicly, but like for yourself. And this year of I've never turned into a life of I've never, because for me, pushing myself motivates me because then I can be like, I cannot believe I just did that, right? Like I did the whitewater rafting with a group at work. I told them how scared I was. I said, please, let's do it class 1. And they're like, okay, whatever. We ended up in a really rainy year in Vail. It was a class 4 or class 5. The water levels were really high.
Oh my
And
God.
the second we got on the bus, I started crying.
Oh no.
And no one saw except for the one other woman that was with us sitting next to me, who I was very good friends with. And she's like, are you okay? And they give me the consent form, basically the sign away your life death form. And I'm like shaking. She has to help steady my hand to sign it. I'm shaking and crying, putting on the wetsuit. And the people in charge said, you do not have to do this. I said, yes, I do. And I got on it and they were so sweet. The guy, his name is Tim, and his lovely girlfriend at the time, they each sat on one side of me so that I felt locked in, right? They're like, we will not leave your side. And we did it. And the second we went off the platform, I started cursing at a decibel and speed that was very impressive, apparently. And it just kept going. And I'm doing what they're telling me to do, but I'm screaming curse words the entire 3 hours or whatever it was that we did it. And crying the whole time. I never once stopped. And we get off and I get out. And everybody is like, I know you said you were scared, but we did not know it was at that level. I cannot believe you did that. And this coworker I had, he goes, I won't even try an oyster when you try to convince me to do that. And you just risked life and limb. And I was like, because I knew when you guys came back, you guys would have been talking about how fun it was. And I didn't want to miss that. So they took me to a bar. They bought me a beer. I think I had one sip and I passed out at the bar from just the adrenaline coming down. But I do not need to whitewater raft again. It is not my jam. I am not going out and picking out oars and boats and trying to compete. But that challenge to myself is a big motivator for me.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
I am driven. I don't want to compete against somebody else. It's me. So I love concepts of challenges and I love group things because a community, when I see other people doing things and I'm like, wow, look at how badass they are.
Yeah.
That pumps me up. So I see the community thing as a way that can be successful, just not in the way it's been presented to us in most scenarios now.
Totally. And from, the name of my business is the Baddie Squad.
Yes.
Squad is a group, right?
Yes.
We are all in a group, multiple group chats together, chatting, talking. I've organized group workouts, hikes. So we still have community.
I love that.
But the coaching, right? What the deep stuff, I really feel like it's necessary or that it's going to be as productive to have all of them on a group call talking about,
of course,
super vulnerable things, right? So that's the thing and those challenges that are like, these influencers that have millions of followers, they're offering these for $20, but there's none of that. Mm-hmm. Mine would be a medium level where I need to talk to you. I need to know what's going on, right? But the idea of having everyone be on the group and do that, I think that they would make more progress sticking with me one-on-one, but we do, the community piece is a choice.
Yeah.
You can join the workout. And then everybody, because of social media, everyone follows each other. Everyone is seeing what people are doing. Then they become friends. Some of them go to concerts together. They do their workouts together. If they have kids, they go for walks with their kids together, right? So I connect everyone. Yeah. Really cool. And because I'm not niche down, everybody has such different goals. So it's I think really awesome for everybody to see everyone doing their thing. Yeah. Right? So the community piece is actually really important. And I totally agree. And I love that. It's just in what way works best, I think, for my approach, right? Is not be like this challenging and, like you said, competition. I want everybody to win.
Yes, that's
right. There is no competing. That's like when you're at the bottom, you care about that stuff. When you're you look up, you're like, I want everybody to win.
Yes.
Right. Especially people who have, similar experiences to me and people who are going through similar things together. I want everybody to collaborate, collaboration over competition. That's why I think community is so important.
What do you think is the biggest contributor to success in this realm for people?
Consistency.
Okay.
Right.
Let me change the question.
Sure.
Because duh. Thank you for the answer. I didn't mean to duh you. I just meant that was a dumb question.
No, it wasn't dumb.
I want to say it's like, what do you think is the biggest contributor to their motivation of people to continue working?
So I really try to hone in, because this is a long-term process when you do it the right way. I think we really focus on small wins.
Mhm.
You work with me, right? So setting up a week-to-week kind of feasible, sustainable, and I think when people can tick realistic boxes, that encourages them to keep going. Even if the journey is really far, very far away, right? I try to keep people as process-oriented as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that really helps. I think it's also really helpful when we start to establish boundaries and the people around you are also on board and they kind of think in the same way, right? We start to break some habits slowly. Your environment, I think, also has a big to do with people continuing, right?
Of course.
And then trust within me and our relationship and being able to get real.
So I just thought of the word I was looking for my question. Great.
Okay.
It's accountability. So there's a lot of interesting research coming out about what helps people stay accountable, what motivates them to stay accountable. And I saw this research study where it was like, let's say you have a workout buddy, right? Now, you don't necessarily work out with them, but you both have this focus on health, right? And so they were saying that where they saw the most results in staying with it was an accountability partner where you would text them a check mark. And the check mark meant you did your workout today or you followed your eating plan, whatever you guys decide in advance. And the other person does not comment. They just thumbs up. There is no dialogue about it, nothing, right? There's no good job, bad job, anything. It's just check mark, thumbs up, and vice versa. And they said that sense of accountability, that you knew someone is watching you and rooting for you. So it's just that idea that someone is watching, that alone was significant to trigger something in the brain to stay accountable for something like that.
Can I tell you a story?
Please.
I have a client. She's been with me since 2021, maybe early 2022. I still train her. And we were establishing some goals. She works from home, pretty stressful job. I said, well, let me see, what's your average step count looking like? This was about over a year ago. And she showed me 2,500 steps a day. Okay. I'm going to say, I don't love blanket statements, but I'm going to throw this out there. 7K should be the bare minimum, folks.
I agree.
Right? For your mental and your physical cardiovascular health. Okay.
Agree.
I about fell on the floor. I said, oh my gosh, we got to get you out of the house.
Yeah.
We need to get you moving. I was like, one of the biggest goals I can have set for you right now is to get the step count average up. So we started at 5, right? Because that would not be responsible of me to come in and say, I need you to do 10 a day.
Yeah.
We do 2.
Yep.
Started at 5. We worked up to 7, worked up to 10. So in January, looked at the 2024 average, 7,800 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And every single day, she took a screenshot of her step count and sent it to me on the app that I have that I coach everybody on. All I did was give it a thumbs up or a celebration emoji or clapping hands, right?
Yep.
She sent it, unless she was traveling or something kind of weird, every single day. And now she doesn't have to send it anymore because it's become part of the norm.
Yep.
But I was holding, if it was getting kind of late and I was shutting down office hours, but girl, where's your step? I would do that a couple times if I had to in the beginning, especially, but then got her partner on board. So now his step counts up and now they don't miss a walk together.
Yeah.
So I have some people send me their full gallon jug in the beginning of the afternoon, their empty gallon jug. Check,
Mhm.
hit your water goal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
photos. I have people send selfies up. Send me a selfie after your workout at the gym. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. Send me a selfie afterwards. Celebrate the fact that you went. They send me when they're all feeling
Yeah.
themselves. I love, and that is a big part of what I do is the
Yeah.
accountability piece.
Yeah. And I think it's so important because it's not, and it's also perspective, right? There's this perspective of like, I have to report in that seems gross and like, whatever. I'm a grown woman. You're not going to tell me whatever.
Sure.
But when it is in this, I probably even said this with you. I say it on here too much and people get upset, but a supportive but demanding community, right? Because if you're only telling people what they want to hear, you are not in service of them, whether it be a friend, a coach, a mental health professional, physical health professional, right?
Right.
We have to be able to tell people the hard things in respectful ways or in ways in which they will receive it, right? Not the way we want to tell them, but the way in which they will receive it, which is hard. It takes work to know people and to get in touch with them. But
Yeah.
I really think that is what works. Like I've been in periods of my life where, look, this is what I know about me. If I call it a workout, I'm not sticking to it. If I have to if I have to get up at 5 a.m. to work out, and I've done that, it's not going to stay. That's not what I want to do in the morning. It's not what it's not what my brain wants to do in the morning. Right. And so that's not going to be sustainable for me. So it's also about having a deep understanding of who we are as people, our ability to change, but our ability to be able to get the best results based on the lifestyle we want to live, right? Like if you're somebody who travels a lot,
Right.
then, preparation comes into key, right? If you're not a prepper, that can be hard. So do you know, like, when I was traveling, I knew what snacks to bring to, help that. Carrying a water bottle around all of the time, right? Those are things that just they're a clue, they're a click, right? And for me, that has been really eye-opening is how does it become part of my day, not a chore to do? And that's right? And different people have other mental blocks for that or whatever. But I do think that accountability part is really hard. And a lot of times friends will be like, I'll be your workout buddy. And then they flake out and they don't do it, or it's not consistent, or all of those things. And then that becomes your excuse for not doing it as well.
Right.
And so an accountability piece that doesn't rely on anybody for more than a second, it made sense to me that research showed results, right?
Yes.
Is that it is pushing you. What do you wish? Oh, so many. What do you wish more women knew on the day that they meet you?
I do feel like because a lot of folks, especially now, have tried so many other things that quote unquote haven't worked. I think that when they come to me, there's a level of defense and a level of shame. So I wish they would just know off the bat, like how cool I am.
Well, okay, but I love this because you just described to me 100%. Like nothing has worked sustainable for a decade now. Now, before that is different, but for a decade, my body has changed. My feet are in pain. My knees are in pain. Right. And so I'm sold. Right. I'm buying everything that you're selling, but I'm skeptical. Maybe not as much about you as a person or whoever I'm talking to. I don't mean to make this about you, right?
Sure.
But I'm more skeptical about what my body can do. And so many trainer seems the wrong word to describe you. So I'm just going to use trainer, but you're doing more than that.
Yeah.
So many of them use different motivational tactics to push you that are like, even the shows like The Biggest Loser and all those. And you as a person are saying, my body can't do that. And they're like, yes, it can. You can. Right. And so how does someone come in and trust that you are not just like everybody else? And this, again, this is with anybody. If
Sure.
I like what you're saying, if it sits well with my spirit, right? Because I think that is first. If it
Yes.
doesn't sit right with your spirit, leave the room.
I
Go
mean,
find someone else.
we sell vibes. If you're not at the end, and energy, seriously,
Yes.
at the end
Yes.
of the day, and if you're not picking
Yep.
up on the vibe and you're not with the energy, it'll definitely not work. I will
Yep.
say, I am not Coach Al is for everyone, but not for everyone at the same time.
Yes.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might have a way of approaching things. My communication,
Totally get that.
I'm an East Coast girly living on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes things can get a little
Yep.
direct for people, right?
Yep.
But I think I said this before. I'm not sure if I said this to you earlier. I was talking to a client. I want people to know, ultimately, I want them to win.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I want people, I want to see people be successful. So sometimes people come in guarded,
Yep.
shame, a little on the defense, even if
Yep.
like they do decide they start working with me, but things aren't necessarily going to the perfect plan, which like nothing, that's life, that literally will never happen, right? Not to feel like they need to apologize to me, right? To feel like, oh, I'm a failure, but once you get to know me, these things take time, right? They will realize, wow, I can't even believe I thought that Allyson was the type of person I had to apologize to for not ticking every
Yeah.
single box.
Well, I think so many of us don't, I'm going to use the word advocate for ourselves, but, I saw a trainer for almost 5 years, 2 or 3 times a week. And I did not like them as a human being.
Really?
He yelled, he screamed at me. I would cry in there, right?
Yeah.
But I'm such a person who does not like to fail that I just kept pushing myself, right? Like even when I first started going to therapy, my therapist is like, one of the things we're going to work on is the phrase, "You'd be so proud of me." Because I use that as a qualifier, anything I told her, anything. "You'd be so proud of me. This is what I did this week." As if I was looking for that validation, right? And I imagine people do that in the gym too. Like, "You'd be so proud of me. I drank my water today," right?
Correct.
And it became a thing. And she's like, "You don't have to qualify anything with me." But I think sometimes, let's say you're East Coast, you got a real chill West Coast vibe person in the room with you, and they don't like what you said, but they just leave and internalize that and don't come back to you and say, "Hey, that style of motivation doesn't work for me. This is kind of how I vibe." Then you don't know, and you also can't adjust, right, to meet that. And so I think it's also important that we're saying, because the thing about these shows and these programs for me is like, I get it. Some people are going to tell you they can't do something and they really can. They're going to quit a little earlier than they might if you pushed them. But there's also no, I really have arthritis in my foot and it is not working to do that. So
Right.
you pushing me is going to injure me, not do, right? And so there's that trust that you believe. And I think this is why women come in like this, is we're never believed when we say those things.
Right.
From doctors, from medical professionals. And so you go into spaces already with the level of distrust, right? And so it becomes, no, I'm telling you, if this arthritis was gone, you're right. I'm out of shape, but I could do that if I kept pushing. But this isn't about being out of shape.
Right.
Right. And so there's an element of that. And obviously I just way personalize that. But that's the struggle that I have had with people, and in letting that guard down to want to work with somebody and believe that it will work.
Right. I
Right.
think earlier I was saying I'd like to believe I could work with anyone, Coach Al,
Yeah.
could be anybody, right? But I have to meet y'all where you're at.
Yes.
And
And
that
they have to open to you.
Right. There has to be a level of openness,
Yes.
willingness,
Yes.
right? Or else it's not going to work. It's
Yes.
just not, right?
And so many people think it's just about a workout. It's just about choosing the vegetable over the cheeseburger. And it's not. It's so mentally reinforced, I guess would be the word.
Depending on the situation, I might tell the person, you better choose the cheeseburger over the vegetable.
Right.
I mean, you never know. But yeah, I think that Something also a little bit different about me is like I've had over 10 years doing this.
Yeah.
Right. So there's something to be said about the amount of experience I have communicating with all different kinds of
Well, and
folks.
your certifications are, I want to be careful how I say this. There are people who are trainers, and that is their sole job. So they work to help you define a muscle or to quote unquote lose weight, but they don't have the education in nutrition. They don't have the education in hormones or kinesiology or all of these other things that work together for the greater good. It's sort of what I said about therapy earlier, right?
Right.
If I go to a doctor and he gives me an antidepressant and that's it, I am not taking care of myself holistically.
Right.
And so what you're doing and what your certifications and your experience is taking a holistic approach to saying, our goal is longevity. It is confidence. It is feeling good in the body that you have, whether that's physically, mentally, psychologically, right? It's a more holistic approach to this.
Right.
And so, yes, this isn't going to happen in 2 weeks. This is going to take some time. There will be days you don't like me, because I think that's the other thing as a person going to see someone like you. I'm not always going to like you, no matter how much I like you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I have to be able to be, what's the word? Discerning enough
Yes.
to know when I'm getting in my own way and I'm making excuses or when it is real, and be able to communicate that. Maybe not in the moment. Maybe there's a day where I'm like, look, you're a dick. I can't handle you today, Allyson. And then tomorrow I can come in and go, you know what? Actually, yesterday I was a dick and I was projecting. Right? Like that happens.
It does happen. I think, from my perspective, I've gotten a lot better about not taking those days for y'all personally.
Yeah, you have to probably.
Because I used to.
Yeah.
I used to take
Yeah.
it personally. I used to look very much inward. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like,
Yeah.
why aren't they happy? Why don't they love me? Look,
Yes.
my own validation,
Yeah.
right? Externally within how I was the success of my clients.
Yeah, of course.
Now, as years gone on, and if something is going on and this person is not happy, they're not, quote, seeing the results that they want to see quick enough, I say, okay, well, when's the last time you did X, Y, and Z? And if it's clearly not a me thing, and I'm just like, okay. And then I just move on, But that's something that's taken me a long time to get good at, because yes, I'm hardcore bad bitch, but I am a teddy bear and truly empathetic. I'm so empathetic, and I truly want people to feel better, So when it's not working, I take that seriously, but not necessarily as personally as I used to.
There's a very old movie. I think it was one of Minnie Driver's first movies. And I think it's Four Weddings. No, it's not Four Weddings and a Few. I'm going to mess it up. It's a Minnie Driver movie. And in it, she says something like, which I always loved that they made Minnie Driver the ugly person in these movies. She's so gorgeous.
Unreal.
And she said, I'm going to quote this real roughly. She said, I may look like an elephant, but I have the skin of, and whatever it was this soft animal, right? So it was like people looked at her and didn't treat her as this soft person, but she was so sensitive and emotional and all these things. And I related to it very much, but I hated that it was knocking herself before she said it, right? And then more recently, in the last couple of years, I heard Drew Barrymore describe it, is that her personality is that of a raw, open, and exposed nerve.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt more seen in all my life. That is 100% me. There is no nerve and heart that is not on the outside of me, right? And so a criticism can be difficult sometimes, not because I think I'm bad, but because I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasn't in service to you the way that I wanted to be.
Right.
And I think as women in this type of thing, where your goal is to lift up, empower, and help live a better life, it can be easy to take that and internalize that as not being in service of them.
100%. I think that, with my personality, I'm learning still every day. Every day I learn something new. But in this industry, I think it's comfortable to link up with someone who's aggressive, who
Yeah.
seems like they know what they're doing, who's going to fight for you, who's going to, I definitely have that. I'm an Aries. I'm so fiery. I have that like aggressiveness, but then also try so hard to show that I am a real person and can be relatable. I
Yeah.
think relatability, likability, we go back to earlier, like what's going to get somebody to maybe stick with, not only
Yep.
stick with me, but stick with the program. They need to relate to me.
Yeah.
So like on my social media, I don't post just about
Yeah.
some cookie cutter ass shit. I post when I go out raving till 4 a.m. because I love to dance. Oh, you're a fitness professional? You're out till 4? Hell yeah. And I have the time of my life. Like, oh, I like EDM music. And then we have great. It's a relatability thing. Like I thought that I need to go to bed at 9 o'clock every night in order. No, not necessarily, girl. Go have fun.
Yeah, and everybody's different. What works for you works for someone else. Like I can't rave till 4 in the morning. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And I love to dance. So it's in my living room at 7:30 in my underwear. Like,
ever want to, you let me know and you can come with me. And
I will. As
had
long as it starts way earlier. Like when people call me and they're like, starts at 10 o'clock, I'm like, that is 2 hours past my bedtime. So if we're gonna go out first, I might be able to rally.
Right.
But I can't just start.
It takes a lot to do it, and I share my experiences, just like not necessarily from a like just when I'm eating, just how I'm training, like from a like, yeah, you know what? I decided to not go out tonight because I don't want to wake up tomorrow and feel a certain way. If you're going out, maybe you shouldn't drink. Maybe you should, and just try
You're
to
showing
like,
them you're a real person.
yes. And I think like it can I think from the outside look like, oh God, you can never you are so good at ticking all these boxes that are so hard for me to tick. You can never possibly understand me. I think I really try so hard within my, chatting with folks and my portrayal on social media and from the outside and who I keep around me to show like I'm a very relatable person in a lot of ways. I'm not a robot.
What do you think? So if somebody is, let's say 35 and up, I'm going to clarify this, and they're feeling some things, right? It can be just there's changes in their body. They don't know what they are, or they're not satisfied with how they physically feel, how they physically look, all of those things that go into deciding to come to somebody like you. If you could, your dream scenario is that they come to you and they have 3 things that they say to you that they're clear on. What are the 3 things you want them to be clear on before starting a health journey like this?
Like 3 things clear on that they need to understand they have to like come around to in order
Maybe like, it could be, their goal, right? What do they really want, or why do they want to do this? Or it could be, I'm not 20 anymore, right? Like, what are those things that you feel like in order to be successful? Here's the 3 things I wish you would understand, know, or come to the table with.
Well, I think this kind of like circles back to what this episode is all about. It's not the first thing I think people want to jump to is I need to lose weight first and foremost.
Yeah.
I need to lose weight and that's what's going to do it. I would love people to understand like, no, maybe like your doctor saying you should, it probably would be better for you. Right. But let's focus on things outside of weight and watch the weight loss happen. Right. I also would like folks to understand how important stress management is above anything else. None of this is going to work well. It might work, right? But the stress component is huge. When you like kind of describe that avatar, I thought of a client that I have, and when she has good weeks, it's usually because things are good at work, right? And then has a very high stress job and doesn't quite know how to manage it. And then sometimes folks will then retreat into habits that are not conducive to their fitness and their health goal, right?
Yeah. Same.
Right? Which is normal. And that's, that is very much a common thing. So understanding the importance of like the things that are so outside of what you think you have to do.
Do you think it's important for things like, like if someone comes to you, hey, let's get some blood work. Let's, tell me what you ate for the past week, or tell me what you're like, what kind of what is that it would be good for them to know?
So blood work is usually the first thing I have all new people do.
Okay.
And if you haven't gotten recent labs, there are ways that there are certain things I need you to not train for 48 hours leading up to the labs because that can elevate your liver enzymes. And then you could think you have wacky stuff going on with your liver just because you trained, and certain numbers can be thrown off if you've exercised 48 hours beforehand. So you take 2 days off from training. Did you know that? A lot of people
I did not know that. It's
didn't know that
interesting.
until my coach told me that. And then, I'd love you to go in 12 hours fasted so we can look at your fasted glucose. We can look at things like that and get a better reading of those things. So there's certain things. Also, I don't know if you've tried to ask a general practitioner for a full hormonal panel, but it's quite difficult. And a lot of times folks will be told no, or you don't need that. That is so common, which is insane. So I will give recommendations of what kind of person to go to, what kind of professional to order the thorough labs that we need.
Is that typically more like a homeopathic?
A naturopath, a functional medicine. Now we have HRT, we have a hormone replacement, like clinics, things like that.
Yeah, I'm in a menopause clinic, but I did not feel it was any different from a normal doctor. And I waited almost 2 years to get into it.
Wow.
And I was so disappointed by the results. Like my TMI, but my blood works are off the charts abnormal. But the email I got back said, we're good. And I said, well, how are we good if these all say abnormal? And they said, well, we were looking for X and that is fine. So the rest of it doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay. Yeah.
It's just really
cool.
Yeah. Really froths my cookies. You know what I'm saying? There is just a CBC is not enough.
Yeah.
Right. And that's usually what most Western medical general practitioner, that's what they're going to be comfortable ordering you. I'd love to see your lipids. Cool. We need to know what your cholesterol looks like. Right. But I need the deep dive.
Yeah.
Why will then this is advocating for yourself. Right.
Yeah.
So then I will make sure that people know what to ask for.
It's, I've been doing a lot of research on this because I know that this is all going on. I feel it. I have proof that my blood work is not right. Right.
Sure.
And so now I'm doing my own research, which is ridiculous. But so I can go in and advocate for myself on the next appointment and say, wait, we didn't do this. We didn't do this. Why didn't we do this? I want X, Y, and Z. And so I'm just going and finding my own experts to do that, which is it's so disappointing in the year 2025 as a woman to have to almost get a doctorate to get your health in order because they either don't know, they don't care, or they don't have time.
I had a client texting me in the doctor's office. They won't order it. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean they won't order it?
Yeah.
You're the patient. Tell them what you want. I don't understand. What's going on? Do I need to get on the phone with them? I don't get this.
Yeah.
Do they not know what you need? She's like, no, she said, I don't need it.
Yeah.
It's wacky. It's very wacky.
Well, and here's the thing. If you're willing to pay for it, because I get it. Hey, insurance won't approve that test. Okay, how much does it cost? $150. I'd still like it. I'll pay out of pocket, right? Like whether or not the doctor thinks you need it, as the patient advocating for yourself, you should be able to get it if you're willing to pay for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's my health we're talking about, right?
100%. Yeah. And, that's a whole other thing. How expensive it is to do things. My lab work, I get it done quite regularly as a competitive athlete. It's $400.
Yeah.
Every time.
For the last 5-6 years, I'm basically monthly. I have to get lab work. So I feel like an old pro at it. Like it's just so regular. But that's why when it does show up abnormal, it becomes jarring because you're so like, I was on a boat this weekend with some girlfriends, and I said, we talk about menopause a lot. And I said, hey, guys, as women, did you know that there is a 45% increased chance of getting glaucoma during menopause? And they were like, what? And I was like, well, I just got diagnosed with glaucoma. And afterwards, I did some research and saw that it does increase your chances when you're in menopause. And I said, you have to, I worked in eyewear. I know you got to get I get my eyes checked all the time. I caught it very early, which while it is not curable, you can prolong and there's ways to take care of it, whatever, to deter it from going blind, basically. And they were all like, oh, I never get eye appointments, or I never do this. And I'm like, oh, there's one thing I could say to women: go to every damn doctor. Like, why we're so afraid to go to a doctor. Look, sometimes it's useless. Sometimes they don't listen to you. It's not an enjoyable experience. But unless you get those tests, you do not have any way to advocate for yourself moving forward.
Yeah.
And then you find it late and you don't have the same options. And so even with someone like you, if I am 35 and older and I'm feeling all these changes and I don't feel good, yes, go to a doctor, go do these things, but find people that are trained to help you with the basic things. Nutrition, the I don't know what you call, I don't want to say exercise, but moving your body, whatever that is, right? Like,
Lifestyle factors.
yes, because those lifestyle factors, every single damn thing you read on the Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic is like, oh, well-balanced diet and working out regularly. So we know that and we fight it, and we don't want a doctor to tell us you have to lose weight or tell us that you're not healthy. But if we don't, the alternative is so much worse. And that's what I wish women knew. I wish women would look. I've been to every doctor you can imagine. And yes, I leave there crying a lot. But at least I have baselines and I have an understanding of where it is, so that if I have to go in gloves on, boxing to advocate for myself, that I can, and I can do the research, and I can find people like you that will help me get my health into a better place. Because the alternative is to be way younger than we are and not being able to do anything. And I keep saying this, but my goal is to ride this till the wheels come off and have the best possible time I can.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah. I have a 64-year-old client, and she texted me, oh, so-and-so went on the keto diet and lost 20 pounds. I said, oh, okay. Because she's freaked out by the amount of food I'm suggesting that
Of course.
right? Because it's scary. It's new. Unlearning. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, they went on the keto diet. And I said, oh, okay. I was like, do you know, how do you know them? Do you know that she plays tennis? A lot of tennis. You know them through tennis. Do they work out? Do they lift weights? Oh, no, they don't do anything. No. They just lost all this weight from not eating carbohydrates, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably a majority is water. And then they're probably burning through the precious muscle tissue they should be preserving. I said, oh, great. Okay, cool. So they lost 20 pounds. So in 10 years, when you can get up and down off the toilet without having to call Life Alert.
Yes.
Will keto make sense?
Right.
Right? She's like, ha, ha, ha. And I'm serious, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this obsession with the scale. We got a lot going on. The quick fix, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking, you and I, if you don't take the action now, what's going to happen long term?
Yeah.
Start now, right? So these things that are pushed in our faces that work, they work right away. Then you're like unsure of what the things Coach Al is telling you to do, because it's against all that stuff that's being pushed in your face. But then long term, let's talk about the big picture.
Wow.
Being able to use the toilet without calling Life Alert.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to, is being a level independence to ride. What did you say? Ride until the wheels come off?
Ride it till the wheels come off.
You don't want to have somebody making sure that they come in constantly checking your engine to ride.
No, and I think at this age, we're in a sandwich generation. So we have our elders, our grandparents, and like I still have a grandparent, right? Like I'm 49, and I've watched this. And I've watched, and I'm not living currently the healthiest lifestyle I can. I'm fully aware and admitted of that, right? But I'm watching people who didn't, struggling and suffering at an age that I feel is too young to be at that point. And that scares the shit out of me.
Right.
And it's the same thing that happened to me in my 20s. In my 20s, I saw all these 40-year-olds, and they were so, pardon the language, but they were so fucking boring. And like, they didn't look like they were having any fun. And I would tell everybody, like, I just want to be a kid for the rest of my life. Like, I was 35 and I was rolling down grassy hills and climbing trees and things like that, right? Because I was like, I don't want to lose this.
Right.
And look, I can't really roll down a hill right now. The vertebrae don't work the way that they do or whatever, but whatever the equivalent of rolling down that hill for me at 49, I want that, because the great Cindy Gallup said, there's all this focus on living younger. And she says fuck that, I want to live older.
Yeah.
Because you
Hell
turned 49, you still got this huge portion of life to live. And
So-
why are we just going to mourn for the past? Why aren't we going to celebrate the future and use what we now have to live the best possible life that you can get? And sometimes that means having a whiskey. And sometimes that means going dancing till 4 a.m. And sometimes that means watching Dateline and falling asleep to it at 7:30, right? It's all about, I hate the word balance, but it's all about finding what fuels you.
I like to use the word strategy.
Ooh.
Finding your strategy. So I don't say meal plans. I say nutrition strategy.
Look
Right.
at you using language to help. I love it. I so strongly believe in that. So
Language is so important.
yes.
And then also to kind of go back to our avatar we were talking about, our 35-year-old that wants to feel better. Also, I need them to understand a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this insane life. I'll have consultations with people and they'll be like, I don't know if I'm ready to change everything in my life. I'm like, who said you got it? It will not happen. Nobody is saying you have to completely change your whole life.
I'm so glad you said this, because this is we went a little long, so we'll close out. But I'm really glad you said that, because I've been following, I won't say who, I've been following some menopause experts and or influencers. I don't know the right word to use, but they share their daily routine. And I'm watching it and going, wow, this is really lovely for a very rich and well-to-do white woman of a certain age. But I cannot, first of all, time, energy, money, finances. So it can be seen as, if I do nothing, then if I don't do it all, I'm doing nothing. That's what I was trying to say. And that can discourage people to that accountability. They're like, well, if I can't do it all, I might as well not start.
This like Gwyneth Paltrow goop. Well,
Yes.
if you had followed me for a lot longer, you would understand. You'd be like screaming, because this is the bane of my like coaching.
Yes.
I can't. It's so unrelatable.
Yes.
And then it makes people feel like shit.
Yes.
That it can't be that way. When I'm over here like, buy your frozen vegetables for $1.
Yeah, it perpetuates all the things we've already been told that we're not good enough.
They think like, what I can't afford organic, great, buy frozen. It's way cheaper and it will last longer and it's just as nutritious, if not more.
Yes.
I can't buy all these supplements. Great, you probably shouldn't be taking 75% of that shit anyways, So it's like realistic little things helping, like, and just being okay with trying to celebrate these small wins throughout the process.
I'm so sold. I'm so sold. I'm sold, because, and I hate saying that, because I don't want this podcast to be a place where people sell things, right? Like, that's not the goal.
No, we just want people to see the light.
I'm sold on the concept of grace, space, accountability, and progress, right? This idea that, okay, today it's really hard for me to walk 3 miles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if I start taking some steps every single day and start walking for 30 minutes a day, every day it is going to be easier. And so I can increase if I want. If this feels good, I can stay where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's also about understanding what's best for you, listening to our bodies, finding people that we trust, we can be vulnerable with, we're comfortable with, to help us live the best life that we want to live, and what that allows for, right? Instead of being all or nothing. And I have lived an entire life of black and white and all or nothing. I do not know how to live in the middle or that liminal space. And most people who offer services, coaching, or teaching about this, they might say they're not all or nothing, but the image they're presenting makes you feel like it is that way. So I love that you're like, let's meet where you're at. Let's give you the healthiest version of you, the baddie that is it within. Use your language, right? And by the way, let's have some fun while we're doing it and build community, because that's what women are about, is building community.
You've got to have fun.
Yes.
You've got to have fun, and you've got to have your fellow squad.
That's right.
Around you, right? Who on the same page. And I love that, I know you said I'm sold because I know that you were a little apprehensive because this space has probably fucked with
It's
you.
yucky.
You know what I mean? It's an icky place for a lot of
Yep.
folks who have had, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of that,
Yeah.
right? So I really love that you had a positive experience
Yeah.
with somebody who dedicates their life to this
Yeah.
space.
So as we close out, I want to let people know, I almost repeated some of the things from our first episode because I do think it gives this episode context. So it's your journey, it's how you got into this space and all of that. So I think it's really, listen to both because I think they work in combination with each other to understand why this matters to you, why it's important, and why you are allowing this space for people to do this. So check out both episodes. We will put show notes in there of where you can find Allyson. But if people don't want to go on the website, where do they find you?
So I'm always on my phone and on Instagram at allyson.spungin.fitness, or you can shoot me an email at allyson.spungin@baddiesquadlife.com.
And do you have a website?
It is baddiesquadlife.com. Actually, just go to baddiesquadlife.com and then my email is there.
That's why I was like, the website's always easier because Spungin, like, how do you spell it? All these things. So, and let's get you some web traffic.
Yeah, thank you. We love some metrics. Baddiesquadlife.com. And you can see some of the baddies that I work with on there.
I
Read their
love it.
testimonials, get an idea of like how different and how amazing everybody is because you are uniquely you.
And we are women with small businesses, so we got to lift each other up and support it and get those numbers dialed. Thank you for returning. It means a lot to me. And thank you for all the great information that you gave today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Wait, Hold Up What is brought to you by the women at Eliminate Girl Hate. We are edited and mixed by the good people at Epiphany Recording Studio. Make sure to subscribe to get notified of new episodes and support our program. To learn more about the work we are doing, get resources to help you and/or your business, please visit us at eliminategirlhate.com. And, of course, don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us at Instagram at wait.holdup.what and eliminate_girl_hate. As always, your support means everything to us, and it is the way that we can continue to make positive and uplifting program that supports women and girls around the world. Thank you. We are sponsored by Epiphany Recording Studio. Creativity needs to flow freely if you want to reach that aha moment that we're all looking for. At Epiphany Recording Studio, their goal is to create space that takes full advantage of those moments. From podcast and video production to music creation, you get the support you need to create compelling stories with a competitive sound. Your ideas can flow freely because they partner with you free of judgment, ready to be vulnerable, do the work, and make your projects look and sound their best. So let Epiphany Recording Studio help you reach your artistic vision by visiting them today at epiphanyrecordingstudio.com. Tell them Dawn sent you. Did you know that 80% of the world's purchases are influenced and made by women? Or that 90% of product development, manufacturing, and corporate leadership is led by men? I don't know about you, but that seems like some funky, disconnected math. This disconnect means large segments of the population are not getting their needs met because the products being made never even asked us what problems we needed to solve. Instead, companies use a pink it and shrink it philosophy. Not familiar? I bet you are. You know it. Take a man's product, make it smaller, paint it pink, sell it for 25% more. Then, when the products fail, to make a dent in the market or to sell rapidly, they say things like, the market wasn't ready. Or, we were so sure it was going to work, I wonder what happened. And then they move on. I'm here to tell you, the market is most definitely ready. But the market is savvy. And putting some paint and saying it was designed for us is a slap in the face. We have real needs, and we're not settling for anything less than real solutions. If this sounds familiar to you and your business, then it's time to connect with Eliminate Girl Hate. We help businesses understand the lucrative consumer segment of women and how to meet their needs in authentic ways. From problem solving, product creation, marketing, and even human resource practices, We help create safe and equitable spaces for the female segment. And these safe spaces increase profit margins, employee retention, and brand loyalty along the way. It's time to start a revolution and meet your consumers where they are. It's time to eliminate girl hate. Check us out, eliminategirlhate.com, and find out how we can help your business today.